What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Volleyball Source channel. This is it. This is the end of our Volleyball Nations League coverage, and we're wrapping it up with a bang. We're giving out our report card grades to all 16 teams, 16 teams on the men's side for the 2024 VNL. My name's Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That's Everett Delorme, live from Toronto, of course. Everett, I hope you enjoyed your Canada Day yesterday. America Day is coming up on Thursday. That's going to be very exciting. And then we're going away for a little bit before we hit the Olympics coverage in a big way. But we got to tie a bow on the VNL with our sort of annual tradition of giving out some letter grades. And I know that the people in the chat love to give their thoughts on this as well.
Yes, they do. I'm excited for what the people in the chat have to say. They've been also they've already been dropping in some of their thoughts on what stutters there of what we're going to expect. Yeah, that was a really good one. I haven't had that one like that in a while. But yeah, of what we're going to expect, and yeah, I'm going all vibes on this one. All vibes, no thoughts, just vibes. Let's see how close we can get.
Let's let it rock. Well, the important things to remember for those of you who might be new around here or haven't seen us do one of these before. One, these are just Everett and I's opinions. If your opinion is different, that's fine. Also, this is dependent on the expectation for the team coming into the VNL. And this year in particular, with the results of the VNL mattering arguably less than ever, especially when you're talking about the VNL finals. It's kind of going to be about what did the team accomplish this VNL? What did they get out of it, whether it's results or not? Did they make anything more clear towards the Olympics? Did they get better? Did they get worse? Did they get things more certain? Did things get a lot more confusing for them? It's kind of going to consider all those things, and all the teams are definitely going to be graded based on what we expect from them. So Bulgaria, for example, is going to get held to a very different standard than Poland. And in my opinion, a C means meets expectations. That's at least what I'm going with. I know you're a little different than that, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think a C is like meets expectations. Is that how you go? Like I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
how it is in American school. C meets expectations.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just go off vibes. So yeah, I have no rubric to go over whatsoever, which is going to make some people mad, and that's what I'm here for.
That is what we're here for. So we're going to rock through this alphabetically. We're starting off at the top of the list. Argentina, Everett. Argentina technically was not officially qualified for the Olympics on the way in to this VNL. They did secure that qualification. We all expected them to do that. That is not really anything super outstanding. They went 6-6. They made the playoffs in the last spot, in the 8th spot. They then lost in 5 to Slovenia in the quarterfinals last week. But they were kind of weird. We saw them in person in Ottawa, and they played a really weird, sleepy game against the United States, lost, and then played an unbelievable game against Canada and beat them. And with just kind of a little bit of everything in between, they lost to France in 5 in that last game in Ottawa. What did you think about the summer that Argentina had? I mean, the Olympics was, I wouldn't say the goal, but that's like the expectation was for them to get to the Olympics. But what did they accomplish in like the level of volleyball that they played?
I mean, the level of volleyball they played was inconsistent at best. I think that they just didn't show much consistency. It was a coin flip on night-to-night basis of whether or not they were going to show up, whether or not they were going to, be the team that we expect. I mean, versus the USA game and the Canada game in Ottawa were perfect examples. Like one team one night and a completely different team another night. Overall, not a terrible one for them. I don't think they didn't really beat anyone big, right? Like if you look, like their best win is like Germany or Canada through that, like that's going to be the only two Olympic teams that they beat.
They beat Serbia in 5, but
yeah,
for whatever that's worth.
They beat Serbia in 5. That, I guess, that's another Olympic team, but really just struggled against anyone else who was of quality. So I'm gonna give Argentina a C. We're going to start with right there in meets expectations, because you kind of beat everyone you should. You didn't really beat anyone like really ahead of you. Like, it's not that they shouldn't beat everyone. Team Argentina could on paper beat anyone, but they didn't really beat anyone of
Yeah,
note.
they didn't.
Lost to France, lost to Slovenia twice, lost to Poland, lost to the USA, and the USA had a garbage tournament. Lost to Brazil, and Brazil is bad. Like, I think that one was a bad one, and lost to Japan in there. So all of their, like, no bad losses, but could have had some better wins. So let's give Argentina a C to start.
Okay, I think that's a pretty decent choice. I mean, the Brazil loss was a 5-setter in Rio, so I'll kind of give them a break for that, just because of
Okay.
the home crowd advantage. Yeah, really their only two wins of substance were Canada and Serbia. They beat Turkey, they beat Bulgaria, they beat Germany, they beat Iran in 5. Like that's not
Yeah.
a very good or convincing win. They got donged by the United States, lost to Japan in 4, lost to Brazil in 5. In Rio, honestly, that's kind of one of their better results to me. Lost to France in 5, got donged by Slovenia in the preliminary round, got donged by Poland, and then lost in 5 to Slovenia. The thing too is that they played their starters basically the whole tournament. I think DeCheco started basically every match that I can remember. Same with Lima, same with Loser, same with the outsides moved around a little more because they got some more options there. But we saw DeCheco, Donani, Loser, Lima basically every single game. And I don't know if they got truly exceptional results out of that. They went 6-6. That's about as average as it gets, and average is a C, and that's what they're getting from me as well.
Yeah, just very average. And the thing is with Argentina is that they always have that ability to jump up and surprise you, but I just haven't seen it yet this year. At least in 2021, there was some of that bubbling. You know, we saw it throughout the VNL that they were able to put some teams in pressure and pick up a few good wins. This year, none whatsoever. So I think they're going into the Olympics on a flat note.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, their South American rivals, Brazil. Now, people have been on me about doubting Brazil, and I'm going to continue to doubt Brazil. I've decided that is my official take going into the Olympics, that Brazil will not make it out of pools. I will stand by that. VNL wise, though, they went 6-6, 21 points, the 7 seed. They lost 3-1 to Poland in the quarterfinals. They had a decent week at home in Rio, as you would expect. Just that home crowd is so darn good. But and well, I shouldn't say they had a decent week. They went 2-2. They lost in 5 to Italy. They lost in 4 to Cuba. Then they went 3-1 in week 2, including a win over Poland, by far their best win of the tournament. Then a very flat 1-3 in week 3, and we're never really going to be a factor in the quarterfinal round. So we've kind of talked about Brazil's outlook heading into the Olympics because it's their first summer back with Bernardinho. They convinced him to pull himself out of retirement. But to me, this team seems just like it's desperately clinging on to 2016. It's almost the same personnel as 2016. It's almost identical. The only player missing from 2021 even is Wallace. Other than that, it's the exact same team. And I mean, we've talked about Brazil in general not having it in the youth pipeline, but this is an old, kind of uninspired, like way over the hill team to me heading into the Olympics. But what do you think about what they accomplished this VNL? Because I guess that's what this video is about.
Once again, like, what did they accomplish over the course of this VNL? Like, they did get that one nice win in Poland. Okay, I can't really remember who Poland played in that match, but I mean, to be honest, it's Poland. It shouldn't matter at all. But Poland has had a weird summer, and they haven't been as stalwart as we expect them to be. So there's that. Losing to Italy's B team. Oh no, it wasn't. It wouldn't have been the B team. It would have been the A team at home. Okay, that's not as bad. But losing to Cuba at home, like, I don't know. I was just really wasn't inspired by this Brazilian team. And, you know, like the women's team, this team kind of got everyone back. They got Lucarelli. They have Leal back healthy. Like, they have the Souza brothers in Alan and Darlett. Or do they have Alan?
Yeah.
No, I think. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they got them both.
They did. So they have everything there. They just haven't really been able to put things together. And we saw the injury to Bruno really rock that team. He's clearly the leader of that team. But yeah, no. I think I'm going to give this team a C plus. And the only reason I'm giving them the plus is because they got to win against Poland.
Yeah, that I think is if they can capture that, especially because they're going to play them in pools the Olympics, then we might have something interesting. But the rest of the tournament, I kind of agree they just didn't really accomplish all that much, especially by if you hold Brazil to the standard of Brazil that they have set over the last few generations of them being amazing. This team is not that team anymore. This team is significantly beneath the standard set by Brazil. But if you just take Brazil as kind of what they are relative to the world right about now, I think they're about a C B minus level team. I'm gonna go B minus. The win over Poland was pretty nice. I mean, I think that they're about in the same place as far as world relevance as Argentina right now, and they were just barely better than Argentina in the preliminary round, including beating them head to head. So I'll give them ever so slightly higher than Argentina, but I still believe that they will not make it out of pools at the Olympics, and I will stand by that.
Once you get to the Olympics, I think it's going to be interesting. We can break it down a little bit, but I do still believe in that roster. Like having Leal and Lucarelli on the left side is no joke, right? And we've seen both of those players been able to go off, but we can get into that a little bit more in a few weeks.
Yes, we will. All right, coming up next, Bulgaria. But in essence, for Bulgaria, the LA quad started this year. As the LA quad for Bulgaria was started as soon as it was announced that no team would be relegated from this year's VNL. So Bulgaria went out and got John Lorenzo Blingini. Alex Nikolov, their best player, took the summer off to recover from, I think, a minor back surgery. And the only fun thing to watch about this Bulgarian team was his younger brother, Simeon, who's going to be the future of their setter position. But as far as accomplishments, it wasn't much. We didn't expect very much. So given the low expectations, Bulgaria going 3-9 and finishing 14th, where about would you put them, Mr. Delorme?
I mean, I feel like that's kind of where the expectations would have them. I don't think it's a terrible outing for Bulgaria overall. And actually, I think that for them, when you're looking at the youth, like they got wins over lesser, younger squads, right? They got a win over USA's B team in week number 1. So that's another like a group of young guys. They got a win over Iran, which is another group of young guys, and they got a win over Turkey. Other than that, like they're playing against teams who are head and shoulders above them and more experienced than them, and everyone kind of knew that. So overall, I think even though Bulgaria didn't do fantastic, what was their final standings?
3-9, 14th out of 16.
I'm gonna give them a B minus. I'm gonna give them a B minus overall because I think that that's actually half decent, and you came in and did what, like, you had a plan and you stuck to it, right? You played the young kids, you went with them, and they got slaughtered all summer long. Got wins where they could have got wins. Like I look through this schedule that they had, and there's nowhere else to be in. Like maybe they could have picked one up. Like the Dutch, who are probably one of the other worst teams, are still head and shoulders above that Bulgarian team, right? If Namir is losing to Bulgaria, I think there's going to be issues. So yeah, I'm going to give Bulgaria a B minus overall because I think they accomplished what they needed to accomplish this year.
Outstanding point. I couldn't say it any better. I'm giving them a B for all those same reasons. I think they're set up pretty well for next quad, honestly.
Yeah.
And a very good point in the chat. I don't know if I can confirm this off the top of my head, but they got more wins this year in VNL than last year without their best player, without their quote unquote A team. So
Love
good
that.
summer. And I think Blingini has been able to put some good stuff in place already. They were never going to be relevant this year. And we'll see what happens as the Nikolov brothers get a little older together. That could be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun. Now let's just hope the Bulgarian Federation doesn't fuck it up like they have with every other generation.
Yeah, they've made some really big mistakes in the previous generations.
Come on.
All right, Everett, fun one next. It's your Maple Volleys. Made the VNL playoffs for the first time. Just smashed your win totals from the last couple of years at 8-4, 4-0 in week 3. Super flat. Not a good performance against Japan in the quarterfinal, but otherwise, like, this is by far and away Canada's best VNL preliminary round ever. So where do you put your beloved Maple Volleys the day after your national holiday?
You know what? I was super happy. Like I was so happy with our VNL that whatever happened in the quarters, I was going to be fine with. maybe not that fine. Like, let's be honest, I would have hoped for uh, uh, like at least a set, maybe at least a set. But overall, when you look at how this team has played over the past couple of VNLs to how they played this year, how they finished strong in that last week with 4 wins in a row, beating Japan, which is essentially a home game in the Philippines, and then beating Brazil as well in a 3-dong. I thought it was huge. I thought it was a massive step forward for our program. Once again, the playoffs could have gone a little bit better, but we were clearly very tired and very ridden down, and Japan was better than us on that day. So overall, like I think I'm gonna give Canada an A-. I'm gonna give Canada an A-. I'm gonna like 100% they get an A grade for the improvement that they had this year, making the VNL finals. If they had shown up better, like if the quarterfinal was a good match and not a frustrating ass match to watch, and we had lost, I might have given them an A. But our poor performance in that quarterfinal gives us a little bit of an A-.
Good take. I'm really impressed by Canada from this summer. The work that Tomas Samelvo has done with that team is just tremendous, and it shows you what can happen when somebody has time to actually put some stuff into place and get buy-in and have time in the gym to train and work, and it's amazing. And also the favor that Canada did themselves by qualifying for the Olympics last year and not needing the pressure of this VNL results wise allowed them to go out and capture outstanding results. I mean, that 4-0 week 3 was really, really impressive. I'm going B plus. I think the week in Ottawa could have been ever so slightly better. The Serbia loss I didn't love, and then the loss to Japan in the playoffs I didn't love. But I think Canada is a very legitimate player at the Olympics. I think that they're a team now that we all should expect to make it out of their group. And this time last year, before last year's like Norsika and Olympic qualifiers, it was crazy to say that.
Bro,
So
just the idea of us being at the Olympics, like I honestly didn't see it. I did not. I will honestly say this time last year, I did not see a path for us towards the Olympics. But plus, fuck you. Come on. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, and you know it.
I'm sticking with it.
Oh, that's horseshit. You know what's going to happen. You're going to get a text from a certain someone tonight calling that horseshit.
Well, that certain someone, the way that you should interpret this, if you're Canadian, as you are, and as a certain someone is as well, is that Canada now is good enough to be held to a very high standard and to receive a B plus for their performances VNL.
No, that's bullshit. You're just not giving our guys our flowers, and I'm going to remember that towards the end of this list.
Okay. I mean, I'm very excited to get to the end of this list. All right, next up is Cuba. This is a depressing one. Cuba missed out on the Olympics by 1 spot. They came up just short in so many ways. Robert Landy Simon retires without ever getting the chance to represent his country at the Olympics. They went 1-3 in week 3 with everything on the line, including getting reverse swept by their nearest competitor, Serbia. That sucked. Of course, you got to keep in context with Cuba. One, they were missing their probably top 2 opposites. Bare minimum, they were missing their starting opposite, no Jesus Herrera, for the entire tournament. Robert Landy Simon didn't play 3 crucial matches in week 2. You saw what happened when he came back in week 3, or in that last match. They beat France, who ended up winning the tournament. This sucks. Cuba's hopes were to qualify for the Olympics. They came up short of those hopes. How do we then grade them, Everett?
Well, I mean, they've started off like gangbusters out of the gate, going 3-1 in the first week, beaten Germany and Brazil and Iran, and just really like setting themselves up and like losing a tight one to Japan. Like 22.
They blew that. They were up 14-11 in the 5th.
They were up 14-11 in the 5th, ended up losing 22-20 in like one of the craziest matches in the VNL, and then proceeded to go 2-6 throughout the last 2 weeks, including losing a crucial game to Serbia. So overall, I think I'm going to give Cuba a D on this one. As unfortunate as it is, like when things went down to gut check time, and like they did so much work for so little too. Like being up 2-0 on Serbia, not getting the job done, right? Taking Slovenia all the way to 5 and then losing, right? Like they just weren't able to get it together, and I was expecting them to. And the reality, they still had the roster to be able to do it, right? And that's the frustrating part, is that we saw flashes of brilliance from this team, and we saw flashes of what looked like Olympic caliber volleyball from this team, but it just wasn't consistent. And I think that was the most frustrating part. So yeah, I'm going to give them a D, because they should have qualified. They should have made it.
I agree.
And they should 100% be there. And at the end of the day, it looked like Serbia wanted it more, and that's exactly what it looked like when we saw Cuba play in person. And that's kind of hard.
People in the chat, like there have been some high grades given out to Cuba in the chat. I agree with you more so that I think meeting expectations for this Cuban team would have been to qualify for the Olympics. Like I don't think that I can give them anything.
But I think at least meeting expectations would have had like a decent fight to qualify for the Olympics at the very least.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing that frustrated me. Like they went out without a sound, without a whimper. Like that's not the fighting spirit I expect from Cuba.
Yeah, the mental letdown was the most disappointing part. I mean, we can give them all the excuses that we want, because they do have the worst federational situation in all of volleyball, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. They had an opportunity to qualify for the Olympics, and it was right there in front of them with 8 matches left to realize their dreams, and they crumbled. They crumbled and could not push crucial matches over the finish line, did not come up big in big moments. I'm going D+. I'm going D+. And if they had their whole team with them and had displayed a similar levels of disappointment, then it would have been a worse grade. But they were undermanned. I still think that with what they had, they should have qualified for the Olympics. They did not. They did not, and they get something in the D range. D for disappointment. They
put up a bigger fight for qualifying the Olympics with this squad, essentially, like without Herrera back in 2020, like 2020, 2019.
Right? Yeah, that's a good point.
They and this was this squad and younger, right? You could have had Lopez on the right side. You could have had Magarejo and Yant on the left side. Masso, Concepcion, like the other guy that we love, that I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Alonso. Like, you have weapons down the middle. You have a better setter now than you did back then. You have a different coach. No excuses. No excuses. Right? Yeah. And you had our support too. That's the biggest part. We got the world on your back, on rooting for you guys.
Dude, we did. I've never championed a non-American team quite the way that I did this Cuban team this summer, because I felt so strongly about wanting Robert Landy Simon to get to the Olympics. But yeah, this is a bummer. D range. I totally agree with you at the standard to which we're holding Cuba.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, moving on to the champs. It's France. France won the tournament. They were remarkable in the final, winning 3 matches in 3 days, 14 sets. I mean, say what you will about needing 5 sets to beat Italy's B team, but they beat Poland in Poland. They're the first team in 2 years to do that, and then they took care of Japan in the final. They did go 8-4 in the preliminary round. But I think the measuring stick for France is what they do when it truly, truly matters, and they showed up in the best possible way. I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm giving them an A. They get an A. Definitely not an A+. No. It would have had to be better in the preliminary round, but they absolutely get an A. That finals performance was so impressive. They are absolutely a gold medal threat.
They get an A from me too, Rob. I mean, they really did a good job through the first 2 weeks of this tournament, going 6-3, 3-1 in both of the first few weeks. They won that epic 5-setter against Italy too in Ottawa. That we got.
Oh, that match was awesome.
That was one of my favorite matches that we got to watch.
And Italy played the Olympic starters, and France did not in that.
Oh match. yeah. That was, they didn't have Engapeth, and they didn't have Chininiese there, and Italy was the team, so they were able to pull that one through. So yeah. Like, looking at it, you lost to Germany in like the one game that Grosjean showed up. So that's kind of explains a lot. Lost to Japan and lost to Slovenia. Oh, and lost to Cuba in 5 in Ottawa too, in one of the matches that Cuba actually showed up for. So yeah, I think absolutely France deserves an A. Overall, a great result for them without Chininiese, without Engapeth. for sure. Like they really put themselves and reminded everyone that they are serious mental contenders when hosting at home.
Yep, they've got the it factor. We talked about it on yesterday's show. They are scary, and in a meaningful match, when that team understands that the match is meaningful and gives everything they've got and gets locked in, good luck. That is going to be a real hard team to beat. All right. Speaking of, you brought them up a minute ago. They played exactly one match in this VNL with their Olympic team, and that is Germany. They used Grozer for exactly one match, and they beat France, the team that won the tournament. Other than that, Germany did not put all the resources towards this. Obviously, they did not need to. They went 5-7. It's actually better than Germany the last couple years. So take that for whatever it's worth. But Germany had absolutely nothing to play for. Just let legendary old man Grozer chill out on vacation wherever and get himself ready to go to the Olympics. But which kind of makes Germany a hard team to grade in a VNL context. So what do you think, Everett, given the low expectations, I guess?
Yeah, Germany is a tough team here because you didn't show up with your guy, right? And when you had your guy in the one game, like you said, you beat the best team in the tournament. So that's a good indication. When they didn't have him, though, they kind of same story. You know, they lost to everyone they should have and beat everyone they should have. Like beating Serbia in week 1, a 3-dong too, with that team was a huge, like that was one of the moments where I was like, bro, friggin' Serbia's out here getting donged by Germany's B team, or not Germany's B team, but without Grozier. Cuba's going 3-1. It's gonna be beautiful, but I digress. I'm gonna give Germany a B minus.
All right.
I think
I'm going C plus. Pretty similar.
I was going between C plus and B minus, but I'm going to give them the B minus because the good win over France when they did have Grozier, right? It was just kind of a teaser to everyone else to just be like, hey, we're still here. We still got him, right? Like this is what's going to happen in the next round. So yeah, I'll give them a B minus because I think that this was kind of exactly what they expected.
Yep. Relative to expectation, I mean, Germany without Grozer should not be held to a particularly high level of expectation. Germany with Grozer should be held to a very high level of expectation. And I think they ever so slightly exceeded expectations in both of those very different categories. So C plus, but do not forget about them. I mean, we talked about it on last night's show. Grozer himself at age 39, he himself and his right shoulder single-handedly will decide a lot about this Olympic Games. And it's real fascinating.
Germany is the biggest dark horse.
And so I posted last night on Instagram just because I was like I'd had a couple drinks and I was thinking about it. I posted like my floors and ceilings for every team on the men's side. Yeah, as you saw that, some of the Discord were talking about it this morning, and I put Germany's floor at 10 and their ceiling at 2. Like that's the crazy range for that team.
I think they could win it.
I don't think they can win it. I think Grozer can single-handedly get them to the final. I don't think that he can win it for them. But also, if something happens to him or if they stink it up, they can take 4th in their pool and finish 10th. Like that. That's the dark horse unpredictability of this team. It's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, the Olympic schedule is out. It came out today. So we won't talk about it much, but it exists. Go check it out on your own time.
Bro, Canada gets 4 days off before their last game.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'll go look at that later. All right, next up is Iran. Iran had a disaster of a tournament. They had a new head coach who they fired after 2 weeks. Then they because they started 0-8, they ended up finishing dead last, didn't they? Or no, second to last to Turkey, maybe. Yeah, second to last to Turkey. They got 2 wins. They beat the United States and the Netherlands in week 3. Other than that, a mess, and that federation's got some big problems. Everett, how low do we go with this grade?
Bro, low. Let's think back to like 2 years ago, even out of the bubble, 2022. Like Iran was looking good. We had just figured out who Amin was, and we were like, yes, this team is winning at the junior levels, and this team is getting the job done. And then they come into Nations League and absolutely lay absolute eggs. They went completely winless through the first 2 weeks of this tournament, right? And that to me is just This is a team that I would have expected to have made the Olympics a few years ago. This is a federation that I thought was a couple of years ago, yes, over Canada. You're telling me that in 2022, when Iran is making the World Nations League finals and Amin is looking like an absolute beast, leading Nations League in scoring, that you're going to tell me that Canada is going to make it over Iran? No way, absolutely not. Right? So this is a team that has continued to get worse and worse, and the worst thing is about this that I don't know the direction this team is going.
That's
right?
the big problem.
That is the big problem with this team. I think of all the teams out here, I might be most disappointed with Iran because they have so much young talent and they have so much old savviness that can be able to help to help with it and move them along like a Batapor and whatnot. And there's a massive disconnect. I'm giving Iran an F.
Oh, they get the F.
They get the F. I don't give a shit that they beat USA and the Netherlands. I'm giving them a straight up F.
Wow, the first team in either of our two report card videos to receive the F. I mean, last year we were handing out a bunch of Fs, especially on the women's side because there are so many teams that are bad. But we didn't give out any Fs to the women last week. We didn't give out any Fs so far. But I mean, Iran and Turkey are the only teams that could possibly be in the F conversation here. And I don't think Turkey's expectations were high enough to get an F, even though they went 1-11, which is very, very bad. We'll talk about them later. I'm going D- for Iran because my personal expectations for them were not high this year. I wish that they were as good as I remember them being, like in the Maroof generation when they were like a legit perennial Olympic team and they were contending in major tournaments and they were really, really fun to watch. I think a lot of it is that last year they were terrible at VNL as well. Like if they jumped straight from 2022, like you were referring to, where I think they took 7th in the preliminary round and pushed Poland to 5 and like were legit 2 years ago. Then if they stunk it up the following year, they would probably get an F. They had a bad year in between, so I'm sticking with D-. But going 0-8, then firing your coach, it shows to me an extremely dysfunctional federation, and that is a damn shame. That they need to figure it out. They really need to figure it out at a lot of different levels.
Yeah, they really do. There's just too much coach firing and too much bullshit going on. They need to figure it out ASAP.
Friendly reminder, during Olympic qualifiers, during a 9-day tournament, their coach last year quit the team. During a 9-day tournament, Olympic qualifiers, their coach quit the team. And then after 8 matches, the brand new coach gets fired. Figure it out.
Yep. I'm with you on it. I think they have a lot of things they need to figure out.
F is for figure it out.
F is for figure it out. Exactly. F is
for figure it out. All right. Next up is Italy. Italy is very good. Italy went 9-3 in the preliminary round, and really I think they went like 7-1 when they had all their guys and were throwing all their resources at it through the first 2 weeks. They were basically unstoppable. Their only loss was to France and Ottawa that we saw. After that, they took their foot off the gas. Obviously, they sent the B team to the VNL finals. They accomplished their goal of getting a high seed and a good draw at the Olympic Games, and then they clearly, in no uncertain terms, showed what the federation thinks about the Volleyball Nations League tournament. Let's put it that way. But when they were good, they were really good. And that's what we expect out of Italy. So what do you think, Everett?
Yeah, when they were good, they were really good. But at the end of the day, like they sent their B team at the end of the day. So I'm going to give them a B+, right? Okay. I think I can't really sit there and give them an A when, you kind of threw in the towel in that last week and didn't really go for it. Once again, Italy has not medaled at a yearly tournament, which is the VNL or the World League since 2014. They got a bronze in Florence, and they haven't gotten a gold since 2000. So this team does not care about the VNL, so I cannot give them an A. But when they were together, they looked pretty good.
That's exactly my take too. I'm also going with B+. I also can't give them an A for not caring. You don't get an A for not caring, even though I don't necessarily disagree with with Italy's reasoning for not caring about VNL. I can't really argue with them with that, but I still can't give you an A if you clearly don't care. But again, they went 7-1 when they did care and looked damn good doing so. So B plus, and we all know that Italy is right up there with the very top favorites to win Olympic gold.
Yeah,
and that's kind of all there is to say about it. This is a pretty simple one.
This one was a really simple one. I mean, they just didn't show up with enough people to fully get to see what was up.
Yep. All right. How about Japan, Everett? Japan takes silver. They're probably their biggest and most impressive tournament result ever.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
But I mean, questions about their Olympic contender status. I mean, we talked about it last night, but as far as this VNL accomplishment, I'm just going to go ahead and give them the A right now. I want to go ahead and give them the A right now. I can't give them the A plus, but it's close. If there's one team that was damn close to getting an A plus, honestly, it's Japan. And they made the run all the way to silver at the finals without Ran Takahashi.
Yeah, Japan fully leveled up, I think, in the finals. Right? To me, over the past few years, Japan has always been a team that does really well throughout the preliminary stage, the intercontinental round, whatever you want to call it, and then fizzled out and loses in the first round of the playoffs. Right? They're really, really good at getting to quarterfinals. Right? A lot of fifth place in Japan's history.
Yeah, a lot of fifth places.
And this time they came in with the intention to level up, and they did. Right? They showed up prepared for that quarterfinal match. Canada didn't. They showed up prepared for that semifinal match, and Slovenia definitely did, right? And I'm not going to say they didn't show up prepared against France, but I think they were just a little bit outgunned, right? We talked about that.
Yep.
That matchup is really terrible. So yeah, overall, it has to be an A for Japan.
Yep. Their only losses.
If I gave them anything less, the Discord and people would kill me. So
yeah, we obviously like to make fun of Japan every so often, but I mean, we're going to be. We can't not give them an A for this tournament. Their only losses were to Italy, Poland, and Canada, and then France in the final.
Yeah,
and that's an A. That's an outstanding tournament, and that's all there is to say about it. So let me write that down on your side. I think we can move on. This is also a pretty simple one.
Yep, there's not much really to say. Like, I don't know how many times I can say that Japan was very good, and they leveled up in this tournament.
You know who did not level up in this tournament? The Netherlands. The Netherlands. I'm looking at it now. I don't think I really realized just quite how bad they actually were. They lost their last 6 matches in a row. They went 3-9. The only teams that they were better than were Iran and Turkey and Bulgaria. They have one of the best opposites on the planet. And they have a team around him that should be better. And other than that one, like the only good game they played was beating Cuba in Ottawa when Namir put up like 40. Other than that, they were just not just disappointing, but straight up bad. They're bad.
Bad. Lost their last 6 games.
Lost to Iran,
including losing to Iran. I think that if there's only one team that has gone backwards more so than the Netherlands, and I think that's Iran.
Yep.
Truly. As much as he's our boy, I have a strong feeling that Roberto Piazza might not be with that team anymore. And it's frustrating because I think that the Dutch did a really good job at building this team from the ground up and like setting things in place to grow men's volleyball as a sport. And this team isn't getting the results right now that they should. Right, this team is not getting the results right now, and they should, and they haven't in a while. And they're too one-dimensional. To do anything. It doesn't matter if you have the best scorer in the world, right? If you can't do anything else, then it's a little tough. And then you don't go into the whole Benny Tweenstra situation where he's not even on the roster for, whatever reasons, official or rumored. There is,
yeah. We heard some things in Ottawa.
Heard some things there that definitely would not want to spread out on this show because it would not be great. But I think there's no other thing than to give them a D-. D- for the Dutch.
I'm going D- as well. And I actually thought about the F. I thought about it.
Oh, I very seriously thought about it as well.
Thought about it. I mean, they needed 5 sets to beat Turkey in like in week 1, a brand new team to VNL. They dropped a set to Bulgaria, even in winning those games. Then they lost to Iran in 5 in week 3, and just weren't even remotely competitive against anybody else, except that one Cuba game where Namir popped off. And again, he'll do that when you have a player that's that great. He will do that every so often. He will single-handedly win you a game. That is not the way men's volleyball works anymore. You can't do that anymore. And the Netherlands is not the same team as Germany with Grozer.
No.
Germany's other parts and their systems are substantially
But
better.
they could be that type of team.
They could be. That's what's so annoying.
They have the personnel to be that type of team, to have a team that supports everything around for Namir to go out being gangbusters. And now I think you and I have talked about this at length between the dynamic of this team and the fact that you have a guy like Wouter Termat on the bench who he himself is undoubtedly a top 10 opposite in the world when you're looking at the professional game, right? So there's a lot of questions on this team, and I unfortunately think a lot of those questions come down to my Halloween costume from this past week.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting federation to keep an eye on as see how they strategize for next quad, because right now it's not looking pretty. And also Namir's not getting any younger. Not saying he's getting worse, but he's not getting any younger. All right. Next up is Poland. And you said it on yesterday's show, Everett, that coming into the summer, you and I and all of us thought that Poland was the undisputed #1 team in the world. And after this VNL, we no longer think that. And now it's a lot more up in the air. So Poland, clearly not the tournament they were hoping to have, but they still did win bronze. The thing, though, is that our expectations for them are so high that it's I don't exactly know where how far down to put them, because they're still Poland and they still are very good at the end of the day, even though it was a bit of a disappointing finish and a bit confusing as to how they got there.
The thing is, though, Rob, when you look at this team, they lost, what, 2 games?
Yeah, I think it was second in the preliminary round. Yep,
1 to
4-0 in week 3.
1 to Slovenia, who was on a tear, and 1 to Brazil. So neither of those you can really say there's issues. Now,
I don't like the Brazil loss, but it's not a deal breaker or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You know, it's not terrible, right? And then you kind of lay an egg against France, but you still play like a good 5-setter, right? Where there's kind of questions about like, what are you doing? Like, why is Boland all of a sudden starting on the right side? Why is so much volume going to Norbert Huber there? So, I think I may have been a little critical to Poland. Now, I still don't think that they're the ubiquitous #1 team in the world anymore. I definitely don't. I think there's a lot more question marks now, and a lot like Turkey is that first year shine of having that like team being together has kind of like rubbed off a little bit. But I still think that overall this was a good tournament for Poland, and I'm going to give them a B+.
Really, that high?
They lost 3 games the entire tournament. One of them was the semi. Like they took care of business in like they still finished on the podium. They still finished on the podium. They didn't like, you know. Every other team in the finals we've given A's to. No, maybe not Brazil. But like Poland ended on the podium, right?
They did
in emphatic fashin. 16
they
17 in the last 2.
Completely destroyed Slovenia. Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So like they still got the job done. And you still did it by using all 3 opposites, right?
That's the thing is I think that it was pretty clear that Nikola Grbic, it seemed to me like as far as the VNL finals went, like what his goals were to beat Brazil in the quarterfinal and guarantee himself 2 more matches that were relatively meaningful with which to work and see what he's got. Because if he really cared about winning gold, he would have started Bartosz Kurek in the semifinals. I don't think there's any debate about that at all, that he was using that semifinal game against a very good French team to try and decide between Bolange and Kaczmarek. I don't know which one he's going to choose. I also think he needed to see what he had in Jakub Pivchak, and among some other things. Then just the strategy of giving Huber more attempts than Fornal, which I think in a normal game you would never do. But then, like you said, they came back in the bronze medal match and were unbelievable, and they completely destroyed Slovenia and made them look inferior. I still just think that this team comes away from the VNL with more questions than answers. And I disagree with the strategy of waiting until the last possible moment to name the Olympic team. When you have so many incredible, talented bodies in your program, the last thing that you want to do to them is scramble their mentals. And I think that's what this process is.
Based on what, though? Because the only team, like, let's be honest, the only team that went out there and named their team early might have had the worst VNL of all of them. Right? So, like, I think that's a tough thing for us to sit here and say like that. Like, is that coming out of the Polish camp? Once again, they lost three matches on this. So, like, they put the guys out there that they wanted to needed to like make decisions on, and they got what they needed from the semifinals. Like,
did they? So that's what I don't know.
I think they absolutely they got the information that they needed. You yourself just said that they put Bolanj and Pivchuk out there to see how they would fit.
Yeah, hey, that was the goal.
But that was the goal. They wanted to figure it out. They figured it out. Now they have the information that they need, right? Once again, that's the moving towards the Olympics. Like that was a science experiment. They didn't know what the result was going to be. Now they have the data. So yeah, they basically did exactly what they needed to do.
I'm still I can't give him as high as a B plus. I'm going B, and I thought about going a little lower than that. But Poland is Poland, and they should be held to an extremely high standard. I don't remember, what did we give the Turkish women last week?
What is their high standard? They lost an insanely tight semifinal match. That's it. They lost 18-16 in the fifth to the defending Olympic champions and eventual winners of the tournament, who we'd agreed from the beginning of this tournament have the potential to win it all. So yes, I don't entirely know how we can hold them to a higher standard. We gave them a B plus for getting a bronze medal. Name us any other time we would give someone a B plus for getting a bronze medal. So, but I digress. Chad agrees with me.
Fine, fair enough. I'm giving them a solid B. B is for bronze, and I came away with the VNL more confused about Poland's identity. And that's why I'm skeptical, and I want to see who their 12-player roster is and who their starting 7 is, and I still don't think anybody knows the answer to that. That's why I'm confused.
All right.
Let's move forward. Next up is Serbia. Serbia qualified for the Olympics. Check. Everett, I'll remind you.
Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
On last week's ranking video, on report card video, you gave the Dutch women an A+. I think the only team in history of us doing this to receive an A+, because they had a goal and they accomplished it. By the same logic, are you going to give Serbia, the men, an
A+? No, I'm not as emotional about this one. And to be honest, I didn't really watch much of the Dutch women. I didn't want to give them any good juju at all. So I didn't want to give them any of my attention. Whereas I actually got to watch the Serbian men, and maybe that's what's making this pick even more frustrating, because I don't know what to grade. Like, they can be the Serbian men that show up and completely lay an egg, or they can be the Serbian men that serve you off the court. So yeah, I think for this team, ultimately, this is a team that I came in with even less faith that they would be going to be able to qualify. If you look at the results coming into this year, if you look at the Olympic qualifiers, if you look at the Olympic or European championships, this was a team that had a downward trend. And I did not believe in them. And yet they were able to come in and really fend things off and really fight through it and ultimately get that qualification. Now, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect, but they were able to get it done. So for that, as I'm a little bit more level-headed and a little less emotional this week, I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay. This is a hard one for me because the goal for Serbia was to qualify for the Olympics. They accomplished that goal. I think they have to receive a pretty high grade on that alone. But the way that they did it, honestly, I think that Cuba blew it more than Serbia went out and took it. And it was really just that one match when Cuba and Serbia played head to head, when Cuba blew it, and Serbia, to their credit, they were down 0-2 in a big game, and they were mentally stronger than Cuba in that match, and they came back and won. But if you look at what they actually did in the preliminary round with everything in the world on the line, they went 5-7, and they played 8 Olympic teams. They beat one of them. That was Canada and Ottawa. They went 1-7 against Olympic competition. That's just not very good. But they still accomplished their goal of qualifying for the Olympics. And that's really what this summer and what this VNL tournament was actually all about for them. So I'm annoyed that I have to also give them an A. I have to give them an A. It sucks.
I think that's higher than you gave the Dutch women.
It sucks. I don't really feel good about giving them an A, but I think I kind of have to.
All right, then.
I don't feel good about it, but it's on the record. Serbia gets an A because they had exactly one goal and they accomplished it.
I mean, I think they stumbled into it a little bit.
I completely agree. They totally did. But unfortunately, it's a binary thing. Kind of like you said last week. We're flipping on this take a little bit.
You give Serbia a higher grade than Poland. Okay there, bud.
Yes, I do. You gave them the same grade. All right. What do you think about Slovenia? What do you think about Slovenia? They were the number 1 team in their preliminary round. They went 11-1. They talk about going out and seizing an Olympic spot. That is what you want to see from a team trying to qualify for the Olympics, in Slovenia's case, for the first time ever. That's what you want to see. You want to see them go out and seize that thing. And they did. 11-1. First in the tournament. Really, really impressive. Then they beat Argentina in a quarterfinal. They got themselves to the medal round. Did they show up in that medal round? No. They went 0-6 in sets.
But yeah, even in that quarterfinal against Argentina, like, it was sketchy at moments.
It was. They were down 2-1, and they came back and they figured it out. But that preliminary round, when grabbing their first Olympic spot ever as a team was on the line, I couldn't have been more impressed by how they went out and seized that. Unfortunately, I think they did so in playing pretty much their starting 7 almost every single game, and that clearly caught up to them by the time of the VNL finals.
I think, Rob, that I'm going to give them an A-.
Okay.
Mostly because they didn't get the job done at the end, right? I wanted to see them on a podium at the end, and they kind of laid 2 stinkers. As you said, 0-6 in sets in those in the medal round, and led a very, very good Argentina, like not a very, very good, but a very, like, hot and cold
Capable
Argentina
sometimes.
team kind of pushed them to the limits. I also think too, just in the grand scheme of things, is that I'm worried for our Slovenia's sake, and I really hope this isn't true, but I'm worried they've kind of they kind of blew their load on VNL. And I don't know if the recovery period is going to be ready. Slovenia is not a team that's used to winning this much. And I think that when you go in, maybe it will be saved for the fact that they lost the last 2 matches the way that they did, right? And it does look like the Slovenia and Poland curse is kind of lifted, especially with the win by Poland on Sunday, right? But it seems to me as though all the other teams are just kind of like, okay, Slovenia, we're going to let you ride this out, but we all know what you look like come the Olympics. We all know what this is going to look like come the Olympics. So yeah, I'm going to give them an A- because I think that the results were there. throughout the preliminary round. They just weren't able to get it done when it mattered the most. But I'm very skeptical of this Slovenian team. I think they've been handed a lot of things, uh, lucky situations over the past couple of years, and that's helped their ranking quite a bit. But yeah, I think this one is going to be a very interesting one for them moving forward. But yeah, A-.
Okay, that's basically the take that I had in last night's show, is that I still don't think that Slovenia is a team that inspires fear in an Olympic elimination game. I think they're a good team. Their floor is pretty high. They took this VNL probably more seriously than any other team except for maybe Japan, and they went 11-1. And they got to the Olympics for the first time in their country's history, and they went 4-0 at home in Ljubljana. And that right there is super impressive. The taste left in all of our mouths about Slovenia is not as good because, like we've said, they went 0-6 in sets in the medal round. I'm going with A- as well. I actually think that I think that the fact that they didn't medal is the best thing for them.
I hope so.
I think it's the best thing for them. I think if they had like maybe won a semi, if they had maybe beaten Japan, I don't think they can ever beat Japan because of the matchup. But if they had and they had like taken silver or something, their chances in the Olympics actually would have been worse. I think that going 0-6 in sets to NVNL is actually going to be a good thing for them as they go into the Olympics. However, I still don't think that they can win an Olympic quarterfinal game. However, we have to give them what they earned in going 11-1 in the preliminary round because they played awesome and they deserve to be in the Olympics. And I'm excited for that country to get their shine in the Olympic Games. They deserve to be there.
100%.
And they get an A-.
Yeah.
All right. I think this next one should be pretty quick. Turkey, welcome to the VNL. 1-11. Welcome to the big stage. 1-11, dead last. You're very fortunate that relegation was not on the table. But with that team that they have, it should have been a lot better.
I'm going D.
Okay.
The only reason they're not getting a D- is because they did win one game. But yeah, this is not like a little rinky-dink little team joining the VNL. This is a team with at least one superstar, not superstar, but one star, right? And some really, really good pieces around them. And unfortunately for this team, their fans have done a lot of talking that the team can't back up. There was a lot of shit talked from Turkish fans coming out of last year, coming out of the 2021 World Championships. A lot of shit talked by these people, by this team who hadn't really been in real competitions for a long time. Now, this is a country that has a legitimate top 5 league in the world.
Yeah.
That has legitimate stars playing for legitimate teams in top leagues like Italy. And they have a team on paper that I would rank better than Serbia's.
They beat Serbia in Olympic qualifiers last year.
They did, right? And yet they came out and consistently laid eggs. And Legumgia couldn't hack it, couldn't play all the games. And all of the same questions that I've had about chintzy-ass Turkey came up again. So, yeah, I'm going to give them a D. And they're lucky it's not a D-, and that's only because they got one win, and they needed a 23-year-old to do it for them.
D- for me. They only dodged the F because it's their first year in VNL. They went 0-4 at home, and they lost to the USA's B team. D-, I think, is generous. Enough said.
Yes, Turkey is D and Iran is F. Turkey is in their first year.
Yeah.
Iran has been here for how many years?
Iran has qualified for 2 straight Olympics, maybe 3.
They get the F. Iran gets the F because of how many coaches they've gone through. Because it's F for royally fucked. Okay.
F is for fired, which happens to every one of their coaches.
Yeah, exactly.
F is for Federation figure it out.
D is for did win one game at Kino. Good. That's a good one. That's a good one down there. All right. Well, Rob, I'm leaving the floor to you on this one. I after your score of the U.S. women last week, I cannot wait for this one.
So as I've thought about this,
This is a good start.
this VNL for the United States men is actually not quite as bad as I initially thought.
Bingo card, please and thank you.
It was bad. It was a failure. Not quite as bad as I initially thought. Week 1, whatever, punt. I mean, our B team went over there. None of those guys had ever played really meaningful games before, and they won a match. Whatever. I'm looking at the last 8 matches, and honestly, in week 3, without Aaron Russell and Thomas Jeschke, I still am furious that we lost to Iran. Like, that's completely unacceptable. But without Aaron Russell and Thomas Jeschke, that team is completely different. And like, you're putting out either Garrett Mwang-Tutia or Jordan Ewert or Cody Kessel, and like, that is not a representation of United States men's volleyball at an Olympic level. Like, Garrett Mwang-Tutia cannot be playing 6 rotations in meaningful games for the United States. Like, that's just not representative of what our team actually is. So it's annoying because really the only real look we got at what this team actually is was week 2 in Ottawa. We played 4 matches with our actual Olympic team, full strength. We went 2-2, and we got beat by Canada, and we got killed by Italy in a weird game. Lost 0-3, but probably should have gone up 2-0 at the very least. Weird game. Took care of Argentina when they came real flat out the gates, and then played pretty decent and beat Serbia. The game planning was, I mean, we talked about it on 2 shows ago, that I think the strategy was my biggest issue with how the United States did all this. Playing Matt Anderson 3 games in a row in Ottawa in 3 days was a terrible choice and should never have been done. And not gathering the data of what would happen of like choosing not to play Matt Anderson, like, run out the 3 outside hitters of Russell, DeFalco, and Jeschke and see what you have there in a meaningful game. Unless Spera is that committed to not showing that to the world, then I disagree with not having tried that at least once. I strongly disagree with how much court time Kyle Ensing, Jordan Ewert, Cody Kessel, and Kyle D'Agostino got in meaningful games. That did not make us better in any way in the last 8 matches of VNL. But really, we only got to see this team at full strength for 4 games. That sucks. I wanted more out of those 4 games. I wanted more out of this VNL. We didn't get it, but I think the circumstances affected the actual outcomes. So I'm not going to go like truly terrible with this. I'm going like D+.
You scared me there for a second. At least you stayed in the right numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give him anything in the C range.
I was getting ready to I was licking my chops here because I thought you were in, and as you went into it, I was like, oh, he's going to give them something in the C's. And then as you went into it, I was like, if this motherfucker gives them a B-, I will lose my shit.
No.
So I'm actually a little disappointed because I can't pop off. I can't pop off the way that I want to.
Well, I'm sorry to take that away from you, but like,
I'm
people in the chat were saying, like, even you said earlier that the U.S. had one of the worst tournaments out of anybody. I'm not willing to say that because of the circumstances.
I'll stand by it. You say that you have more questions about Poland, a team that won bronze?
Yes, I have so many more questions about
the USA. Goodness gracious!
I know.
What tournament were you watching?
I know exactly.
I know you went to Italy and stuff, and you were like in Blissland. But were you aware of what's going on?
I know, and we know exactly who the United States' 12 Olympians are, obviously, and we know exactly who the starting 7 is.
How many of those guys are healthy? Do we know? You have one opposite who consistently shit the bed for this team over the course of this tournament, right? You have no backup in that situation. This is a team that mentally, you never got off the ground. At no point in this tournament did you ever get off the ground.
I agree.
Right? You got a win over a struggling Argentina and a struggling Serbia, right? Then you gave it up. You gave it up to Italy, and then got bullied by Canada in Ottawa. I'm sorry. Like this team has it is D for disaster. Now, I do have full belief that this team can get it can figure it out, and maybe a little bit of adversity for them is kind of what's needed. A bit of a slap in the face to be like, hey, you know what? Just like the rest of America, we're not as great as we actually think we are, and we need a bit of a wake up call here. So yeah, I think this may be a good thing, but like, I'm sorry, like the compound is on fire right now. And we're going to see how quickly they can put out these fires and rebuild shit. And sometimes with fire, there comes regrowth and something else. But yeah, right now, there is not a team that I am more worried about than this team USA. Mostly because the potential this is the last breath of this team.
Yep.
And I want to see a good legacy finish for this team. And I have serious concerns about this team heading into Paris.
So what's your grade? D?
D. Yeah.
This is not a dumpster fire situation. The only time that it becomes that is if Aaron Russell but especially Thomas Jeschke are seriously injured.
I'm not calling this a dumpster fire situation, but there's fires around. There's fires that need to be put out. This is not a fireless situation.
I don't think there are any fires lit at the moment. I don't. I think that it was not a good tournament, but the circumstances being what they were, week 3 was not Olympic level volleyball. Week 1 was nowhere even close. That we don't even need to talk about it. And week 2 was the only time that we could realistically expect Olympic level volleyball, and it wasn't great.
Exactly.
But that I think a lot of that is circumstantial. The 3 matches in 3 days is something that will never happen at the Olympics. The U.S. men's schedule came out today. We have 3 matches in 7 days. We have 2 days off in between each of our 3 pool play games. That's so different than VNL. It's not really even in the same conversation, and that's why I'm less concerned than I maybe was like quickly after the tournament was over.
Mr. Bro Rush, can you please make up that meme and post it in the Discord? Thank you. It says Rob is the dog in the burning room saying, "This is fine."
I saw that.
This is fine.
The room is not burning. The room lost its air conditioning, but the room is not burning.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the meme right there. That is the meme right there. Sure. I guess we'll see what moving forward. All I'm gonna say is that your tune coming into this tournament was winning is a skill, and that we need to learn to win.
Yes,
and
we do.
Team USA needs to go out and win this tournament.
Yep. So but another thing that I've said when even you have pushed back on this very thing is that winning skill only applies when you have everybody. If you don't have everybody, then there's only really so much that you can do.
You don't need everyone to beat Iran.
I agree. That sucked. It was embarrassing.
That's what we're gonna end it on. You get nothing else. You get nothing else from me. That's my mic drop moment.
Yeah, that was embarrassing and completely unacceptable and should never happen again.
Never ever. Never ever. Never ever. Never ever.
All right, that's it. Volleyball Nations League is over. That's our video. That's our report cards. Grades have been given out. The rest of these teams, enjoy the rest of your summers, but it's Olympic time. 24 teams have I think it's 24 days from right now to prepare for the Olympics. It's going down. We're going to be all over it here on this channel. Again, no shows of any kind next week.
None.
The next show we will have is a 9x9 on July 15th, Monday.
No 9x9 shows next week. We'll see what else happens.
Right. Okay. We'll see what else happens. I will be gone. Everett will be question mark. We'll see. But don't worry. When we come,
I have no idea where I will be.
Yeah, we have no clue. But when we come back on the 15th and we do a show, we will be ready to put in place a lot of our Olympics coverage, and there's going to be a lot of it. There's going to be a lot of it, both before and during the tournament. So make sure you're subscribed here if you're not already, and join the Volleyball Source Discord, because we are getting that thing ready to go to be the greatest Olympic or volleyball chat community in the world. But this is the pinnacle of what the Discord is all about. So make sure you join that. Link is in the description.
Love you all. Have a great week.
Happy America Day to all of you. Happy July 4th on Thursday.
Just doesn't sound right.
That's because that's not what it's called. It's called Independence Day. It's called the 4th of July.
All because of a little bit of tea.
Go USA. See y'all. We love you. Peace.